Hey, I got a question for you dudes out there. Do you ever wonder what it would be like to be pregnant? Being a student of gynecology, I'm often wondering about the experience. My name's Ike, and my story began when I was 26 years old. I was in my final year of med school, which meant I was logging hours at 2 hospitals and working on my thesis, which was the biggest headache. I wanted to do something special, and I got this advice from my advisor to find a weakness and turn it into a strength. The more I thought about it, I realized my weakness was my gender. If I was going to be an orthopedic surgeon or something, I could relate because I know what it's like to have a broken bone. But delivering babies for a living meant all my patients would be pregnant women, and I was at a disadvantage considering my anatomy. But these days, it's all changing, Ronan said. Ronan was my best bud and probably the smartest person I knew. He led a team in advanced neural research at this top-secret lab. Ronan and I were roommates during our undergrad years, and this evening we were catching up over a drink. I was complaining about my thesis and how I didn't know what to write about. Well, what if you could experience pregnancy? I'm not sure everything he said after, but Ronan believed that once their research became public, everyone would see that body switching and conscious swapping could be as simple as slipping into somebody's DMs. The idea sounded preposterous, and I didn't even know if my advisors would accept the work, but something about it stayed glued to my mind. It was more than just a project idea. I was genuinely curious, but I wasn't serious until I found out Sarah's secret. Sarah was the girl I was in love with, and I was doing my best to play it cool. I didn't want to scare her off. The thing is, I didn't have a lot of girlfriends because med school was eating my lunch. But now that I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, finding a companion was becoming more and more important to me. And when it comes to love, sometimes you just know. Sarah was charming and intelligent. I wanted to dive in head first, but I planned to give it some time before proposing. Well, almost a month into the relationship, she had a meltdown. I'll never forget it. We had the most romantic dinner, and we were taking a walk near these fountains, watching some little kids play. Suddenly, Sarah burst into tears. I didn't know what I said or did. But she told me that she had a secret, but she was afraid I would leave if she told me. "You can tell me anything," I said. "I'm 2 months pregnant." "But you... we?" "I know. The baby is my ex-boyfriend's." She told me this complicated, emotional story. By the end of it, she was afraid that she would scare me off. I told her I wasn't going anywhere. As long as it was over between her and her ex, I would stand by her side. Then, I thought it might help my thesis. And then I remembered Ronan's conscious swapping idea. I met with my old buddy to ask a few more questions. He said consciousness can be contained like disk storage and then cross-projected onto opposite bodies. It's a metaphysical can of worms, he said. I told him that I was interested in swapping with Sarah, but I didn't think she would go for it. "She might be interested once she starts getting cramps and the pains of pregnancy set in," he said. "Maybe that's when you could bring it up." What a genius idea. Leave it to old Ronan to get the right angle on things. Next time Sarah complained about the woes of pregnancy, I offered to take over for her. She looked at me like I was crazy, but she wanted to know more. I think it was mostly curiosity, but by the end of it, I had given her the whole pitch for my thesis. She was on board. We met with Ronan, and he explained the procedure. It's time we start thinking of physical bodies as commodities. We can grow them, and we can trade them out. Just like cars or clothes, they could be switched or repurposed. We both had to sign agreement forms, authorizing each other to maintain control of each other's corpus vessels, which was legal writ for our bodies. Speaking of, they were wiring us together. They scanned our brains first, making backups, then they wired us both to this host CPU. I didn't realize there was a problem until I woke up in this warm fluid. It felt like I was floating in a hot tub, and I couldn't have been more relaxed. But soon, I realized I could barely move or control my body. And then I realized I was a fetus. The body swap had misfired somehow, and my consciousness had been uploaded into the baby. But I was stuck with the limits of the body, no matter how sharp my mind. Birth was traumatizing, and experiencing the world in such a helpless way was humbling. Sarah was so nurturing, but I couldn't tell if she knew it was me inside her newborn. I heard a strange moaning from the other room that sounded somehow familiar. I soon realized there was a dumb baby inside my body, or corpus vessel, I should say, and it was throwing a temper tantrum. I saw him burst out of the room, destroying the place. Sarah was heartbroken, and I was helpless to console her. I wanted to explain, but I just couldn't say anything. I couldn't make the baby body speak, no matter how hard I tried. I could only cry and wail. But watching Sarah deal with the baby in my body was confusing. I listened to her call Ronan, but I couldn't hear his explanations from my end. I only heard Sarah telling him that the swap failed, and it somehow fried my consciousness. She didn't know that it was her baby in there, and so after too many temper tantrums, she had to hire a nurse to help her care for the baby in my body. As the months passed, I gained more and more control of my body, and I tried desperately to communicate the idea to Sarah, but she wouldn't take me seriously. All she wanted to do was coo at me and pinch my cheeks. I used my toys to spell out messages and demonstrate, but Sarah couldn't put the pieces together. It was the most frustrating few years of my life. They were years of desperate attempts at communicating. They were also filled with reflection. I had so much time to think. I wondered how long I would remain in this corpus vehicle, and I wondered if I would ever get out. Maybe it was a new lease on life. But still, I had worked so hard to become a doctor, and now I was having to start all over again. But once I hit about a year, I was able to say my first words: body swap. She kept thinking I was saying mama, but I wasn't. Body swap, I said. Oh, luck. But more words came, and soon she thought I was some kind of baby genius. I need you to listen to me, Sarah, I said. How do you know my name's Sarah? My name's Mommy. It's me. It's Ike. Your baby's in my body. So the swap worked, she said, putting the pieces together. I thought she was going to faint. After she called Ronan, he came immediately over, and we all had a little chat. My story made complete sense, but before I had the words, it was just nonsense. Ronan was fascinated by our transfer, and our case study turned out to be a breakthrough for him. I had my fingers crossed when he wired me up again. This time it was to my original body, and he knocked us out to perform the procedure. I remember feeling lost in space. Not hot or cold, not dark, but not light. It was just me and my thoughts. My time in a baby body made me remember how much people desire to be heard, to matter. And then I remembered this proverb that brought me comfort. We are given 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. It made me think about my thesis and the whole reason I got myself trapped in a baby's body. I got so caught up in what I was going to say and what I was going to do that I didn't take the time to just listen. That was probably the most important part of the research, after all. Suddenly, my eyes opened, and I was in my old, familiar body. My own skin, my own face. And when I spoke, my voice sounded right. I was home, I guess you could say. The procedure had been a success. I hugged Sarah and scooped up the baby. Sarah was crying tears of joy, and our family was back to normal. I went back to the school to explain to my thesis advisors why I dropped out years ago. They didn't believe me until I shared Ronan's report with them, and while fascinated, I had passed the deadline. I had to log recent hours, and I put myself back on track. I also had to write a new thesis, but this time, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going to listen. I decided instead of hijacking a pregnant woman's experience, I could tune in. I scheduled personal interviews with current patients at various hospitals to gain patient insight. After all, I have two ears for a reason. Might as well use them. What do you think? If you could body swap with somebody, who would you trade with? Tell us about it in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden wisdom stories. Remember, when you share our stories, you're sharing wisdom.